up, Gun Nuts? It's Ferrari Steve, and today I'm going to walk you through what to look for if you're considering purchasing a pre-owned Glock. But first, let's do a safety check. Eject the magazine, lock the slide open, visually, manually inspect, and the gun is clear. So this is actually my most beat up Glock, so I figured it would be the perfect candidate to do this kind of video because it has the most visual wear, and it's kind of a good example of what you might find when you're shopping for a used Glock. Now, you're going to find used Glocks in all sorts of condition, and buying a used gun is a lot like buying a used car. Brand matters, condition matters more, and the maintenance history matters probably the most. There's not a lot you can do, though, to kind of tell if a car's been maintained. You know, you can't sometimes get service records with a car. You might get a collectible car that has a whole list of service records, but you're generally not going to get a list of things. But there are some telltale signs to look for in a used gun, just like there are in a used car, to see if the previous owner was taking care of it and if you're making a good investment or a good purchase. Maybe you don't see it as an investment. Maybe you just see it as a purchase. So anyway, let's look at a few things. First, just overall condition, right? I mean, just visually inspect the gun. Look for scratches, look for gouges, look for signs that it's been dropped, look for signs that it's been abused. Now, again, that's a difference between a gun that's been well used, like this Gen 3 Glock 21, versus abused. Abused is going to have big gouges or big, issues. And here, it's worn, it's been held. The plastic is not so shiny anymore, which is fine. You're going to see some wear here, meaning it's been in and out of holsters a lot, some wear along the slide. That's, again, okay, right? I don't feel any big gouges. It's just worn. Lock the slide back and look at the barrel. Ooh, you see what we call the Glock smile. That's this wear part here, kind of the curvy edged. That means the gun has been fired a fair amount. And the more distinct and pronounced this Glock smile is, the more it's been fired. Again, not a bad thing, and perhaps maybe you like that. One of the reasons I like to purchase used Glocks is because someone else has already broken them in. And these things really start to get smooth. Kind of like, I don't know, there's some European cars that have manual transmissions that I like. And sometimes it takes a while for those to break in and really feel smooth. And I think the Glocks are very similar to that. So, this action, really, really nice. And it's reset, and it's, it feels like it's been broken in. It runs great because it's got thousands of rounds through it. Another thing you're going to want to look for, only if it's important to you, is matching serial numbers. So on a Glock, you've got a serial number on the three main parts, right? The frame underneath here, the slide right here, and also here on the barrel. You're going to want to make sure all those match if it's important to you. Now, if it doesn't match, that's not necessarily the end of the world. Maybe it doesn't matter to you. That is a sign that, not that anything is bad with the gun. It's more of a sign that somebody was proactive, or maybe reactive, in fixing something that was looking like it was too worn, or was about to break, or maybe did break. So if it's got a different barrel serial number than the rest of the gun, that's okay. Not the end of the world unless the matching serial numbers is important to you. And if there are two guns and everything else all being equal, and one had matching serial numbers and the other one didn't, I'd probably buy the one with the matching serial numbers just for the sake of originality. But again, with the Glock, it's not paramount important, right? It's more about how the gun is going to function. Another thing you're going to want to look at is how many magazines do you get with it? Does it just come with one, or does it come with two or three? A lot of the times, you'll probably get a couple magazines, hopefully. If it's a police buyback, you should get 3 magazines. Most of the Glock police buybacks come with 3 magazines. And you're going to want to take a look at those magazines, and take a look right here. You'll see restricted LE/government only, because it's a high-capacity magazine for this caliber. But what that tells me is this is a Clinton-era Glock, right? In fact, it's got a date on it, 9/13/94. And if it had this stamp, it was during the high-capacity magazine ban. And so when it says restricted LE government only, you know it's a Clinton-era magazine. And if it goes with the gun, it's probably a Clinton-era gun. Now, you can call Glock and give them the serial number and ask about the gun. They'll tell you if it came back and had any service. And that may or may not be something you want to do. With camera phones these days, you can kind of snap a picture and then maybe go make the call outside the store. It'd kind of be awkward standing there at the gun counter making that call. But if it's during business hours, call Glock and ask them about the gun. See if there's been any recalls that affect it, or if they've seen the gun or know anything about it, and they'll at least tell you when it was made, right? If you're at a gun store and you're considering, dropping a few $100s on a used item, it's okay to take it apart. It should be. If they don't want you taking it apart, then, I don't know, they might not be someone I'd want to do business with. Now, again, it's going to help if you look like you know what you're doing, so don't let it be the first time you're field stripping a Glock when you go in it. But if you're looking at it and you look like you know what you're doing, and you lock it open and check and then point in a safe direction, that not at anybody else, and dry fire it and then do a little field strip, they're probably not going to freak out, right? So let's field strip it and evaluate it, right? We're trying to decide if we want to spend our hard-earned money on this. So let's go to the only piece that doesn't have the serial number stamped on it, and that's the spring. I like finding a stock spring inside the Glock, and it's stock because it's plastic, right? The whole thing bends a little bit. I like seeing the stock spring in there, even though I'm someone who likes to put the stainless guide rods in, or stainless spring guides in my guns. I like to see the stock spring in there because that tells me it's the stock spring weight. Even though I'll change the rod, I don't ever change spring weight. I always run stock spring weight. So I like to see the stock one in there. Just check condition. It looks pretty good. I mean, is it still springy? Any cuts in the coil? Does it look, like it's chipping? Does it look like it's on its way out? I mean, this is probably the original one that was in the gun. Looks like it's been used a lot. There's still thousands of rounds to go on it. It's good to go. Now that you've got the barrel out, you can kind of look a little more closely at it. You'll see plenty of wear. This gun was fired. Plenty of wear here where it's locking down. That's okay. Check the feed ramp. You're looking to make sure there's no big gouges or scratches. You just want to make sure that it was at least maintained, right? And this being a police gun, right? That was the dead giveaway. Also, the other dead giveaway is, we'll get there in a minute. It was probably really well maintained, and a lot of police Glocks carried a lot, shot very little. This one was shot a fair amount, so I don't know if this guy qualified a lot, or maybe he just took it shooting a lot. I don't know. But it's still in good shape and well broken in, right? So you're going to want to look down the barrel, make sure it's nice and shiny and mirror-like inside. It's okay if you see some scratches, some minor ones. You don't want deep gouges, but you want to kind of make sure that they cleaned it and took care of it, and it's still not looking really messed up inside, right? Let's look at the slide. Let's look at the slide last. Look at the frame. So a few things to look at in the frame. You're going to want to look for wear here, right? You're looking for paint that's been worn away. And here on the slide lock and the slide stop, you've got some wear, right? And that's, again, okay. I like to look in the trigger. I like to see that it's the smooth face trigger. And depending on which Glock it is, if it's a 19 or a 26, it's probably going to have the target trigger. It kind of has staggered little bits here, and that's because it has to have a certain number of parts that are put on in America for import reasons, which is kind of silly, but certain models have that smooth front, and I like that. I like that smooth trigger. I'm actually going to do a video soon showing how to swap out that trigger if you don't have it on your gun. Just look around inside. I mean, you probably don't want to grab the Glock tool and pop out pins, but have a look around. Look for wear here on the cruciform piece. Look for wear along these little rail bits. Nothing that's yelling abuse. Just looks like it was used, and it's kind of self-polished in a lot of places where you'll do the 25-cent trigger job, right? A lot of those places are self-polished on a gun that's had a fair amount of rounds, so nothing really scary here. You are, once you have the frame, going to look for some aftermarket parts, right? We already verified that we have the stock spring. This is the stock barrel because it has the matching serial numbers. It's the stock levers and knobs and doohickeys. But this is not the original civilian magazine catch. This is the extended one. It sticks out a little farther. It's nice and rounded from use, and that's actually nice. But it is extended, which again is another indicator to me that this is a police buyback Glock 21, because a lot of times they were issued with the extended magazine release, but this is not the extended slide catch or the slide stop lever. This is not the extended or trapezoidal slide lock. So, again, I'm seeing OEM original parts. I like that. OEM original trigger. I like that. This is an OEM extended mag catch. And that's kind of nice. That's something I was going to put on myself if it wasn't there. So what's nice is I know I'm only going to replace the takedown and I'm going to replace the slide lock and the slide stop with the extended ones and the trapezoidal one, right? Now let's look at the slide. A couple things you want to look for in the slide. Again, you're looking for wear, normal wear along here where it's riding along on the, against here on your frame. Let's look. A little bit of wear here, some wear, but I don't see any signs of abuse. Here's one thing you do want to check. With your little safety plunger here, you're going to want to make sure you can pull the striker back and hold it up, press the safety plunger and listen. Tink, right? You want to make sure that you can press that and the striker falls just with its own gravity. That means it's not been over lubricated inside here. That's a sure sign of over lube is I'll hold it. If you press this button and nothing happens, that's a sure sign that someone has over lubed this gun. Not the end of the world, but at that point, if I did that and it didn't drop, I probably would insist on pulling this off and kind of seeing in there just to see what's going on. Normally you won't have to do that, and I would definitely ask permission before you break it down beyond this in any way. But that tink is what you're looking for to make sure when this safety plunger goes down, which allows the striker to come forward and ignite the round, you're wanting to make sure that does that on its own, just with its own gravity. And if not, just investigate further, right? Another thing to look for, are they stock sights? These are the factory night sights. So if it does have night sights on, and again, that's another thing that might be an indicator that it's a police buyback. In the store, cover it up, look inside, make sure you've still got some glow. Can we see some glow in there? I don't know. There's a little bit left. It's probably too bright to see. But just cover it up, take a peek, have a look, and see if you have some glow left in those night sights. And if you do, hooray! And if you don't, well, you can't really expect much. It's a used gun, right? But it is kind of cool to have these metal factory Glock night sights on. That's kind of a nice touch. And these ones have some glow left, so kind of a bonus, right? What else are we looking for? Just check the extractor, make sure it looks like it's going to do its thing. If you know a lot about Glocks, you can kind of look at the extractors and see what version it is. You might see different versions of extractors out there, but generally you're going to be okay. And if you don't like the one you have, these are really easy to swap out anyway, right? You just drop that, and once you've moved the plunger, that'll just pop right out. Watch my full takedown video if you want to see how to do that. We're running out of stuff on a Glock, right? There's really not much else to look at. Aftermarket parts, overall wear, how much stuff you get with it, and just generally how's it feeling, and the price. So new right now in 2015, a Glock 21 would be just under 600 bucks, 590 something and change. But if you get a police buyback, you can get them for high 300s, right? 370, 360 to 390 maybe. And that's a pretty good deal for a gun if it's been maintained and it's worn in and it's still got thousands of rounds, and maybe even better than a brand new one because it's been broken in. Has somebody else kissed the girl? Well, sure, but she's yours now, and that's really the important part. So this is Ferrari Steve thanking you for watching. Get out there, use your Glocks. Don't be afraid to buy one used. Do your research, look online. There are plenty of gun websites. I like Gunbroker, and look at sales and see what used guns are going for to make sure you're getting a good deal. Find kind of the price range you're looking for a used gun, and then just make sure that it's in good condition. And if you do, you're going to save some money, you're going to get a great gun, have another great piece for your collection, or maybe your first. A used gun is a great way to go for a first gun. I recommend that often just because you can save some money and find out if this really is what you want. Get up there, use them, practice, practice, practice. If you've got a new gun, turn it into a used gun by using it. You want to make sure the first time you have to pull that trigger, it's not the first time you have pulled that trigger. Si vis pacem parabellum, and stay safe out there.